Hello and welcome back to Soundcheck. This is Luke from Support Act, and today I am joined by Cath Haridy. Hey, Cath.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being had. I'm glad that you could join us. Now, Cath, full disclosure, you used to have a fairly significant role with Support Act, isn't that right?
I used to sit on the board.
You did.
I had the honour of sitting on the board.
Ooh. How long were you on our board for, Cath?
6 years.
Quite some time.
Indeed.
So it must feel pretty special for you right now seeing, I mean, obviously it had to come out of the toughest of times, but Support Act is in a fairly crucial role at the moment.
It is indeed, and I think it couldn't come at a more important time for the music industry and for supporting music professionals and artists who need that support in such a tumultuous time.
Yeah, most definitely. And before we proceed any further, I want to make everyone aware that if this conversation brings anything up for you, or if you're just struggling in general, make sure you call the Support Act Wellbeing Helpline on 1-800-959-500. There are qualified mental health practitioners and financial counsellors who have experience of working with people within the music industry, whether you be artist, crew, or work within management, label, independent, all the way to a major. So they're waiting to take your call. So yeah, first of all, Cath, I thought it'd be great for you to, bring people in on your journey within the industry. Where have you come from and where are we all at now?
Well, I started in my early 20s, which is some time ago now, Luke. And I started in street press at Impress, the wonderful street press magazine that used to exist, as a contributor. So I used to write reviews and feature stories, and also volunteered at 3RRR and did lots of graveyards and fill-ins and produced a bunch of shows for them, and was very involved in community radio for a while there, and through that that association I was recommended for a job with a guy called Michael Parisi, who is a very well-known industry figure, and at that time was the head of A&R at Warner Music, and he hired me to be his A&R assistant. I started working with him there, and I worked with his roster, Regurgitator, the Super Jesus. There was a bunch of others that we worked with at that time, and he then was offered to start a small label imprint through the newly merged Festival Mushroom Records back in 2000, and called Sputnik Records, and he then brought me over to work on that imprint with him, and he and I worked on a number of artists, including 28 Days and Motor Ace, and a bunch of others, Machine Gun Fellatio. And from
about my youth right here, Cath.
Yeah, are you? Yeah, right. Yeah, it was a really
the bands that I was going to see when I was finishing up at school. Yeah,
no, I feel like casting my mind back and trying to think of that time. It feels like a dream. It feels like a memory, or it feels like something that didn't really exist. But yeah, I feel very, very lucky to have had that opportunity, and I learned a lot from him, and I worked across the Festival Mushroom roster, and worked with amazing A&R people like Steve Cross at the time, and Michael, and Mark Opitz even at that time was still transitioning from Mushroom, and Peter Carpin, and I got to work with all these incredible people, and I learnt a lot, and eventually I was promoted to an A&R manager, and I started to sign my own artists, and that's how I met a band called Eskimo Joe. And 7 years later, after I had completed my journey as an A&R manager, and through that journey I signed George Eskies, a Gyroscope, and a couple of others, and worked across a roster of really interesting artists, and had some incredible experiences both in the studio and outside of the studio. I decided to leave and manage, and Eskimo Joe asked me to manage them, and that was just as Black Fingernails Red Wine, the big album, was about to be released, and then, you know, as the story goes, here I am 14 years later, still managing with a roster of artists, producers. I've got an author as well, and I've had an incredible experience, and I've had the ability to be able to contribute from an advocacy perspective by sitting on various boards, including Support Act, Music Victoria, Community Broadcasting Foundation, and have lots of really excellent experiences. So yes.
Yeah, brilliant. So what just to dig deeper into the management stuff, I mean, you're working with AAM now, the Association of Artist Managers, but what is it about management that you really loved that kept you in that career for as long as you were still in?
Yeah, for me, it's both about the creative output of the artists that I work with, and being able to see that up close and personal, and also about the relationships that I have with those artists. For me, artists like Eskimo Joe or Jebediah or Bob Evans, who I've been working with those artists now for a really, really long time, and they become like family. And you experience, you know, all of their professional highs and lows, but you also experience a lot of their personal highs and lows as well. And you are, as a manager, artist manager, probably the closest person to those people than pretty much anyone else in the process. The most constant person in their lives.
Yeah, and so, you know, dealing with artists as a manager, I mean, there are lots of complexities that go with managing another person's career, I imagine. What are some of your insights as a manager, and for other managers who are watching, you know, around how you manage the highs and lows of an artist's career?
I think it very much depends on the artist and the approach. And I think there's a lot to be said for having lots of different experiences with different artists over periods of time. For me, learning from those experiences and coming across different situations which have been challenging, or indeed celebrating wonderful outcomes, you begin to form an impression of the best way to approach all of these different experiences with an artist. But I think it's getting to know that artist and getting to know them and the way that they tick and psychologically how they work and how best to actually approach them and to actually communicate with them, I think, as well. And that just comes from spending time and listening and beginning to understand what it is that they need from you as an artist manager as well.
Okay, so that depth of experience that you've got, those experiences you can draw upon when working with an artist, and I guess that's driven a lot of the work that you've had, which is with your, you know, more recent passion with AAM. Maybe you can explain why AAM is so important and what changes it's making to the management industry.
Well, the Association of Artist Managers is the peak body for artist managers in Australia. It's affiliated with the International Music Managers Forum, which is the international body for music managers. We're the second biggest music management association in the world, behind the MMF in the UK. We've got over 300 members, and those members are made up of both experienced managers as well as managers who are developing and emerging. So there is a real breadth of experience and a lot of different needs within the membership as well. And I think that we have really worked towards wanting to both promote, protect, and also really advocate for our members and their artists over the past number of years that the association has existed.
Okay, so Support Act is obviously, you know, very dedicated towards improving the mental health and well-being of the music industry. And I know that AAM has some similar programs. Of note is your Gimme Shelter program. Can you explain to me what AAM is trying to do in the well-being space, and specifically about Gimme Shelter, perhaps?
Yeah, Give Me Shelter is probably one of our, I would say, most important programs. And it's a program that was born out of wanting to support artist managers both from a mental health and wellbeing perspective, but provide them with some real hard results, I guess, accreditations that they can walk away from with that really give them good tools that they can use every day within their professional lives, both from a personal perspective, but also with their artists. So the program has many different elements to it, but I guess two of the marquee parts of the project are both the mental health first aid training, which every member undertakes, and the other element would be the conflict resolution training, which of course comes in handy when you're an artist manager in your everyday work. Being able to negotiate conflict is a daily occurrence.
Those two qualifications can go hand in hand sometimes, I assume.
Oh, very much so. Very much so.
Why do you think it's important for managers to learn those skills of mental health first aid and conflict management?
Well, we know that both from various research projects that have been released over, the last couple of years, that there is a very high incidence of mental health challenges that artists face. I think it's over 90% of artists face mental health challenges. What we found too from our own members survey, most recently that we've undertaken in the last couple of months, is that our members also face those same challenges. And in fact, over 80% of our membership has faced constant and daily mental health and wellbeing challenges. So putting those two factors together, it seems like the logical conclusion is a program that really works to both improve the mental health and wellbeing of an artist manager, while also giving them the tools and the resilience training really to be able to take that and also apply it with their artists. Then if you look at that scope, that scope with one artist manager, you could be affecting change with, over 800 to 1,000 artists when you're looking at 300 managers. So that's quite broad, a broad effect.
Yeah, and peer-to-peer education is so powerful as well. I mean, for people like managers, to be going out there and being able to share that information with other managers and encourage more managers to do that training, it's incredibly powerful, isn't it?
I think you're absolutely bang on there, Luke. I think that connectivity, that peer-to-peer learning is so crucial. So crucial, I think, not just within the artist management community, but within the music sector at large. I think peer-to-peer learning is kind of key. And for us, we find that a lot of what our members want, and a lot of what I think artist managers want at the moment in this challenging time where we're facing unprecedented problems that, artist managers automatically want to try and solve because that's in their DNA. The idea that you can be connected with other people who do the same thing as you is kind of paramount in really supporting, I think, our own mental health and well-being, being able to share the information, because artist management can be so solitary. It can be a very lonely profession, I think. And so we've been really trying to foster that. And I think Give Me Shelter plays into that as well.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like it has traditionally been quite a competitive industry as well, being a manager. I think, where we can all combine around these issues, and it's the same with Support Act, where we're within the industry, people identify with us because we're of the industry, and it kind of breaks down those barriers of competitiveness so we can unite around a singular cause.
Absolutely.
What is otherwise quite a competitive industry.
I think we've definitely seen that in the wake of COVID-19, and the way that it's obviously impacted our industry is just, devastating. And I think the way that we've been able to pull together as a broader industry, and the way we've been able to work together and share information has been one of the real positives to get out of this horrible, devastating situation. So for that reason, I think, and I hope, that will continue, and we'll see a lot more of that. And definitely within artist management, I do see that there is a lot more of a collegiate, approach to each other, to our peers.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, at this moment, I might re-mention our Support Act Wellbeing Helpline one more time. If anyone wants to make a call to speak with anyone about their mental health or their financial security, make a phone call to 1-800-959-500, where you can speak to qualified mental health practitioners 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And with that said, I know, what are we entering into week 5 or 6 now, Cath? I've got a 1-year-old. We've moved into a new house. I'm starting to feel a little bit, but I still feel like, I've got my, measures in place about how I keep myself healthy and safe at home. How about yourself? What have you been doing to try and keep yourself sane?
Well, like you, Luke, I have 2 little ones. I've got a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. And, I have a partner working full-time, and I work full-time, and we're homeschooling as well. So as everybody is at the moment, and it is a very big challenge. And I think that probably one thing that has helped us to be able to continue to plough forward is the ability to just sort of each of us separate ourselves from the unit just for even half an hour in a day, just to take a walk around the block, just to get a bit of perspective. I know that there are various initiatives going around at the moment. I know that the wonderful Richard Moffat is running meditation and yoga sessions every morning at 10 a.m, which are apparently amazing, and I've been meaning to log into them, but I haven't had a chance. But there are many things like that circulating. I feel like both I think Headspace, and I think there's one other that I've come across that looks really interesting. Insight Timer, that's right, Insight Timer is another really interesting app that can provide a little bit of relief.
Just going back to the walks and the disconnecting from the family unit, I don't think my dog's ever been fitter than he is at the moment. He's well walked at the moment.
Yes, well, that's good. That's what he's saying. The dog walking, and he's just prolific at the moment.
He gets walked by me, and then he gets walked by my wife, then he gets walked by me again, and then he gets walked by my wife again in the afternoon. It's like, okay, guys, I've had enough.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen that video doing the rounds on Facebook of the dog that's standing on its back legs, like hiding behind the wall. I think that's an absolute classic. My little poodle's probably doing the same.
Yeah, happiest pets in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, the irony of this whole situation is that, as much as we've been separated, we've been brought together more than ever. I mean, this is probably the longest conversation that you and I have had, Cath, and affiliated with the one organisation. But having said that, something like AAM is so important. How does like an independent manager who's working completely by themselves right now find out more information about becoming a part of your community?
Yeah, of course. We welcome all new members. We are very easy to find via Facebook, by the World Wide Web. You can look us up, the aam.org.au. At the click of a button, you can join.
It's not a big scary process. You don't have to put your credentials on the table when you walk in, do you?
No. There are 3 tiers of membership, and they're all relatively, there's an entry level membership that's very easy and very affordable, and every cent that you spend on that membership fee goes back into the organisation and comes back out again, hopefully in these wonderful programs and lots of different advocacy that we do.
And it looks like the Gimme Shelter program is a fantastic program for managers in the industry. So we'll look forward to seeing more information about that in the future and what that holds. And thank you so much, Catherine Haridy, for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us on Soundcheck, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.